bro. Yesterday.
Dis reg. Hello and welcome to the channel. In this series so far we've looked at all the fortifications during World War II for the coastline of Port Elizabeth, ranging from mere observation posts to artillery and radar buildings. But it soon became apparent to me that this series would not be complete without covering the Algoa Battery, which was the heart and the teeth of Port Elizabeth's coastal defences in the entire bay and harbour area. There was just one small problem to overcome, but let me take you back to the beginning. Algoa Battery and the historic buildings contained within are located on an active military base, with a double barrier of barbed wire fence, 24 hours a day patrols and heavily armed guards. We were not getting in here without an invitation. In a stroke of good fortune, we learned that some of the guys on the base were already fans of our channel, so after some negotiation and full agreement to their terms, we were allowed inside to come have a look at some of the unused buildings under the watchful eye of our escorts. This story began about 2 weeks before the outbreak of World War II, when No. 3 Heavy Battery of the South African Artillery in East London was divided into two sections, the one of which was sent to Port Elizabeth with two 6-inch or 152mm field guns. They were later renamed No. 6 Battery, initially setting the guns up southeast of the harbour in the sand on temporary emplacements. This battery was affectionately known as Fort Gokom, which is named after the sour figs they planted to stabilise the sand. In January of 1940, plans went ahead for the construction of a permanent battery observation post and director station, as well as the concrete dugouts for the permanent placement of the two guns, and this site would be known as Algoa Battery. In 1942, the guns were replaced by two 6-inch breech-loading Mark V guns, enclosed with steel shields. These are the guns that you see in the video today, with barrels marked 1900 and 1902 on the breeches. These guns had enough range to cover the entire Algoa Bay. Towards the end of the war, the Algoa Battery was placed into care and maintenance status. And even in the 1980s, once the humid development scheme was underway, Algoa Battery infrastructure remained unaffected, cared for and maintained by Group 6, the successor of the No. 6 Coastal Regiment.
So hierdie is alles stoorkompartemente. Yes.
Each gun battery had its own underground munitions bunker, where the shells would have been originally stored. Just have a look at how deep this bunker goes down and how reinforced the walls are. These bunkers were all completely separate from one another and featured some interesting designs to prevent the water from getting in. A quick look at the main control panel for Gun Battery 1. The goose quickly heads over to the second gun battery to see if there are any differences. It's pretty much identical to Gun Battery 1, but whether this was called Gun Battery 2 or Gun Battery 3 is still debatable as the information is conflicting. Standing proud, looking over all the other structures, is the Night Battery Observation Post, the main control center for the Algoa Battery. Decked out in its broken plate camouflage and free-form parapets like we've seen on all the other observation posts, it's easy to see from which era this building originates. Okay. Oh, ek sien die mense gebruik hierdie is.
Ja, hulle klap my net hierso.
Okay. The ground floor of this building is now being used as living quarters, so in order to respect the privacy of the occupants, I decide not to show the interior of this room. The observation floor, however, is vacant.
Dis baie netjies. Jo.
The first difference that I notice between this and the other observation post is this one is a lot larger in construction and extends a lot higher up on the second floor, which I am told was converted into a bar and recreational area by Group 6 who was stationed here previously. You'd have to be very disciplined to drink in this bar if I look at the ladder that you have to climb down on afterwards.
Ja.
En dan verder op van hier so ook.
By die dak op.
En dan is hier op die dak. Seker op hier inkom.
Yes, ja nee, die ene is nie in die beste toestand. Ek het agtergekom, daar's die ene blore by en die een in skoenies het ook so 'n deurtjie.
Ja.
Maar hy gaan verby die tweede verdieping.
Okay.
Hy hardloop al by die kant van die gebou af tot so in 'n onderste kamer.
Ja.
Jy kan net op die dak klim as jy van onder af begin.
O,
Van 'n
okay.
so 'n tonneltjie wat so om die leer
Ja,
opgaan.
ja, okay.
Baie interessant.
Maar ook kan hier so lê wat ek kan net eers kyk.
Ja. Hulle sê is ook die ding was heeltemal omsingel met lemmetjiesdraad wat
Ja,
heeltemal te
ja.
verdraai. Sjoe, ja, dis
Die gebou is
fantasties.
nie so en niks hier was geen gebou of niks nie.
Ja,
Hier kan onder kon lekker ver
soontoe draai.
in die baai ja.
Imagine standing where I am today and watching these guns blazing out at a target in the bay. Behind the observation post is a third battery site where a 6-inch breech-loading Mark 6 gun was briefly mounted in April 1944 before being tested and removed soon after. And so the inevitable descent begins. I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of the guys that used to come have a beer at the bar here and have to navigate this long ladder all the way down to the ground floor. I suppose that wouldn't be a problem in an area where discipline is paramount for the occupants, but not a good plan in a civilian setting.
Jo,
Is dit cool geweest?
nice up there, eh? You've got wood against the wall?
Oh, no graffiti.
Nothing.
I know.
Sharing the same parapet facade as the observation post, we get to our next building.
Maar is nie veel nie. Al die is soos hierdie werksplanke wat nog hier is en hulle is slaap permanent hierso. Hierdie
Ja.
werksplank daar se werksplank daar agter. En dis al die res is net maar goed ons nou hier ingestoor het.
Wat wil jy?
That's the bench. Okay, so dis 'n gewone venster wat nou goed vensterrame is.
So as the name suggests, the technical workshop was used to work on all the instrumentation that was utilized on the base. You can see there are two very thick layers of concrete protecting this building.
Die tafelbekker. Die beklap verskaf het aan die plek hierso.
Mens kan hom nou nogal gebruik, hoor.
One thing that becomes clear quite quickly during our walkthrough is that there's a big emphasis on backup power generation at this facility.
My hemel. En daai is dieselfde style, né?
Ek weet hierso was die generator en goeders want die was dik kabels wat nie af loop nie.
Van die muur wat hom beskerm stewig lê.
En hier is daarom om heeltemal te beskerm seker van aanvalle van die see se kant af bombardement nog goed.
Liewe aarde.
There are other foundations scattered all over the area as well.
'n Trappie affaire met hierdie riffel. So hier was 'n
Ja.
gebou gewees.
Wat het jy tog gesien, hè?
Ek wou net sê dit lyk soos daai sakke.
Dit is sandsakke wat hulle sement of iets in het en pak hulle hom so
En dan is
en die sak het nou verweer. So die sak is nou weg. Maar nou
Dan-
bly die harde die sement bly nog oor.
dit
My natural instincts briefly kick in and I try and force open a locked door.
dink hy's gesluit.
This defensive wall was constructed by mixing sandbags with cement and was built to protect the generator room against attacks from the sea. This method was effective and widely used at the time.
Hier was net 'n gebou gewees want hierdie is tipies daai Want hierdie penne is so, hulle moes hier 'n houtgebou opgehad het.
En dan die fondasie van daai gebou het geanker op daai goedjies.
Yes.
Hulle het regop gestaan en dan met 'n muur
Hy
vasgemaak.
is regop so, hulle het houtbalke hier so gesit en dan vandaan het die muur opgekom.
Even though this third emplacement only had a gun for a short time, it was well armed and well equipped with its own munitions bunker and these blast tunnels and temporary storage for the ammo. Rumour has it that there was a gun on the way from East London to permanently occupy this emplacement, but the train it was transported on derailed in a bad spot and they couldn't get the gun out, so they decided to bury it right next to the railway line. That might be a good topic for a separate video, that I go and try and find the location of this buried gun. As we were calling it a day and getting ready to head home, another interesting bit of history was shared with us. While Algoa Battery was being constructed in the early 1940s, a need arose for temporary living quarters on the site. A few kilometers away at the Port Elizabeth airfield, the Air Force were receiving their aeroplanes directly from Britain, packaged in wooden crates, ready to be assembled upon delivery. They would then use the interlinking planks from these crates, usually a good quality oak, to build themselves bungalows in which to live in until a more permanent residence was established. It would seem that the regiments assigned to Algoa Battery caught onto this idea and secured themselves a few of these high quality crates with which to build some bungalows on Algoa Battery base. These temporary wooden structures proved such high quality that some examples still survive today, such as the one in the video, which is now 84 years old. Granted, the wood is quite brittle at this stage, but just the fact that it survived this long is an absolute miracle. So there it is, guys, the basic history and virtual tour of Algoa Battery. Naturally there will be some blanks to be filled in, but I'll rely on my viewers to leave it in the comments if required. An important thing to remember, guys, is this is not a museum, it's an active military base. Please don't show up uninvited expecting a tour. Everything you've seen in the video is everything you're allowed to see, so you're not going to see anything extra by going there. Having just said that, we got into a few areas below ground that we needed a flashlight and good footwear for, but didn't have at the time. So keep an eye out for the second part of Algoa Battery, which I plan to publish 1 week after this one. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel so you can get notified when that video drops, because it's gonna be insane. Please hit the like button on your way out. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.
Is die maar geskop?